This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carrie Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carrie Ann, I am so excited about today's guest.
Yes.
It's all about, for the last month, it was Realtor Safety Month. And I've asked these folks to join us today to talk about that topic, about Realtor Safety Month. We really do truly care here, as I know all brokers and owners do of their real estate community. And it's a crazy time in our world, and I'm excited to have someone else who has stepped up to the plate to make it a safer place for all of us. Welcome to the party here, Charles and Holly. Is it Roselle?
Roselle.
Roselle. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Look, before we get started, I have a conviction that before we can believe the messenger, before we can believe the message, we need to believe the messenger. And you guys have quite a background to be. Once I saw that, I said, okay, I believe these two.
Well, we have the same jacket.
I believe that too.
Oh, look at that. There you go. I thought it looked familiar. That's crazy funny.
So tell us some background. Either one of you can start, but you guys have, that's a dynamic couple is all I can say here,
Powerful couple.
But tell us some more about you guys.
Well, Monty and Carrie Ann, thank you for having us. And I usually go first because you always remember who goes last. And you'll be more impressed with my wife. But again, my name is Charles Roselle. I'm local. I was born and raised in the Nashville area.
Okay.
And then I spent 16 years as a Secret Service agent. I know we're in the news a lot lately.
Yes.
But I was honored to be on the President's detail and protected both President Bush and President Obama.
Wow.
And then transitioned to the private sector, which is kind of code for we started having kids, and I didn't want to be gone 200 nights a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was director of physical security for a biotech company in San Diego. Then we transitioned to back to Nashville in 2019, and I started my own security consulting business.
Wow.
Very nice.
So that's a bit about me. And
So you guys were married when you were Secret Service?
correct. We got married actually when I was on the President's detail. So she knew what she was getting into.
That's what I'm getting to, I guess. That must have been kind of, Connie thinks that she's got a bad married to a realtor. Come on. I'm gonna bring that home tonight and tell her how lucky she's been just to be married to a realtor who has no life and works 7 days a week and all this. At least there's not that many guns pointed at us most of the time.
Right.
But anyway, thank you for sharing that. Holly, what about you?
A little bit about me. Prior to this, I was the mental performance specialist with the Navy SEALs based out of the Naval Special Warfare in Coronado, California.
Okay.
Wow.
And in that role, I worked as part of the Human Performance Program. And what we did is that we were constantly looking at the performance challenges, the performance demands of the operators, and then coming together to make sure that we had the solutions for them to always be able to perform at their best. It's really important for them with all of the just how hard it is in their job, that we've got to constantly be supporting them in that way when they have challenges. And then prior to that, I worked really in the same role with an Army Special Missions unit called Asymmetric Warfare Group, and we focused on combat effectiveness in Iraq and Afghanistan, frontline combat operations there. And then prior to that, again, working with human and organizational performance, but this time at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center with wounded warriors in the rehabilitation environment.
Wow.
So that was,
God bless you.
well, thank you. It was an honor to work there. And then prior to that, I was just doing research and courses. I have 2 masters and a PhD in the field of performance psychology. And that leads me to today, where I'm really excited to be the CEO here at Forcefield. Wasn't really the plan. Originally, I was just supporting him. And some people that have, spouses or friends that start a business, you kind of understand, like you become free labor. And that's what I did for him.
Don't say that around Connie.
Okay, well, I won't.
So I've got to ask you a question. It's maybe off topic, Charles, but were you a little bit intimidated on that first date?
Well, now you know why I go first. Usually let the ladies go first, but with my background, I always go first.
We're men that are confident to be around strong women. I'm sitting next to another strong woman. I'm married to a strong woman, and not everybody, I guess, is as comfortable. So I just can imagine if you start looking at her resume, holy cow, I'm not sure if I'm worthy to take you out or not.
And when we were in San Diego, I thought I was pretty cool Secret Service agent, and she's working with the SEALs all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She up one there.
So Holly, are you that person that goes down to the bottom of the pool to make sure they're coming back up, or?
No, I tell people I was not a Navy SEAL myself. Would never put myself
But
in that esteem.
she did swim in college.
I
give her a plug there.
train them with the psychological skills training. But
So you guys definitely qualify to be believable on the topic of safety, and so we delve in from there. You've seen a need within the real estate community and those home health workers that are going into unknown land as well all the time. I have a conviction that I sometimes, and I know it's obvious. We're speaking to a real estate community here. Some of them are our agents, which we have an amazing family here, and we all try to communicate and collaborate around this topic of safety, and have certain protocols and so forth that we recommend that people follow. But one of the entities that when we first started talking, Charles, that I found out that you had aligned with is the same entity that Realty One Group has aligned with for a cause of being safety aware. Just last month we celebrated as the real estate community Safety Awareness Month, and one of the biggest proponents of that, I think, or one of the most heart-wrenching examples or whys, if you want to figure out a why for something like this, is the Beverly Carter Foundation, and I understand you guys have aligned yourself with her. Now, I do encourage all of you, if you haven't heard of Beverly Carter or you haven't read her story for a while, maybe, please take the time to do that. I did this a couple days ago prior to this meeting here, because I wanted our agents on our huddle call yesterday to hear a conviction about the importance of it'll never happen to me. That kind of mentality that I think many of us are guilty of on a lot of respects. It'll never happen to me. I mean, when you look at, we've had Brink come in and talk to us, and a few other safety people, and some of the things that she went through were common protocols that I would have said, okay. I mean, the number one that got my attention was the fact that, okay, this guy that she'd been talking to, that she had checked out, from her knowledge, she had checked out his email address and phone number, out of town, cash buyer, wanted to look at this property, and she said, I'm sorry, our company has a policy that I don't show a property alone, especially out in the country like this, and right at that moment, her this guy's supposed wife gets on it's okay, sweetheart, I'll be there too, and yada yada. Mm-hmm. And I think one after another check mark was as far as, okay, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm okay. And then we know the rest of that story, or be sure and check it out. Honestly, guys, everybody should be aware. That's why we have a Realtor Safety Month. That's why we're taking the time to introduce now another opportunity that I think is going to appeal to many of you as a great tool, a great resource to stay safe. Okay, so anyhow, I just wanted to start with that. So you guys recognized a need in our industry. Thank you for that. Right. So go ahead, Charles or Holly, whoever, whatever you guys want to share here. I just wanted to set the stage here. It's really, really, really important that we pay attention to this topic, okay? I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but when we talk about Beverly Carter as an example, that was 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Think about our world, our country, how it has devolved over the last 10 years when it comes to safety. And again, I'm not a doomsdayer or thing like that, but I am a realist that there's something to be concerned about there. So you can't be too safe, I don't think, So I'm sorry, go ahead, guys.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And we're honored to be able to partner with the Beverly Carter Foundation. Mm-hmm. And talking to Carl, who runs the foundation, her son, I sat in on one of his presentations a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things when they were interviewing the suspects, because it was a male and a female, after the fact that, they were like, why Beverly? And the two reasons they gave: rich broker, works alone. So those were the two things. Mm-hmm. They think every real estate agent is well off, and most of the time they're by themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's where it started for us. I was actually meeting with a home healthcare client, and I was going over with him how I could do a physical security assessment for his company, followed on by some active shooter training. And he said, Charles, that would be great. However, 80% of my workforce, they're lone workers. They're out in the field by themselves. How do we protect them? So Holly and I talked about it and discussed it, we realized it was a problem, and not just for this corporation, for all loan workers. And we've also, both of us have been loan workers before, so we felt that.
Sure.
When I was in the Secret Service, if there was somebody that maybe made an internet threat towards the president, I'd go to the house, I would call our duty desk and say, I'm going to be at this address for the next 30 minutes. If I don't call back in 30 minutes, send the cavalry. So I, experienced that. And Holly, while she was getting one of her master's degrees, she had to do social service checks. And she told me, she's 5'2", and she would go to these doors, and she was, a little bit in fear of what she was going to meet on the other side. So knowing it's a big problem and then both experiencing it, that's when we came together and said, we need to do something about this.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, we're not, Beverly Carter, and unfortunately, there's been some other incidents in the news lately too, of high crimes and death of real estate agents. But we're not only talking about the high crime; we're talking about assault too, intimidation, fear at work. There is a NAR study that came out recently where 40% of real estate agents have feared for their safety at work. That's really high. That is really high. And you look at, if you align my expertise in my line of work, where we look at, okay, what are performance challenges and performance issues of certain organizations? And I think, okay, hold on, this is characteristic of this organization. That's very, very high in relation to the rest of the workforces out there. And so we kind of dug a little bit deeper, and you think about, okay, why is that? Why does it hit real estate agents particularly hard? And we have 4 reasons why we look at, to get a little bit deeper. One is they work alone, and typically inside homes, right? So if something's wrong, it's not like you're in public, you can do something.
Right.
So they're alone inside homes. Second of all, they often work with people that they don't know. And third of all, they don't get to choose where they work. They don't always get to choose the location. And then fourth of all, real estate agents, they publicize themselves. And so, their pictures out there, and they shouldn't have to feel like they're doing anything wrong by doing that. They're not. That's their industry. They need to market that way. But unfortunately, it does kind of all of these things add up to making them a little bit more vulnerable, a lot more vulnerable in their work environment. And so, as I look at it from my area of expertise, okay, we got to understand why is this happening with home healthcare workers, with real estate agents. And then when we figure out the why, that's when we were able to figure out the solution. It's like, okay, they need some way to call for distress inside that home if their phone is taken away from them. And that's what the app does. There's a couple other features too that are really important in terms of geolocating them. But, I hate to say this, but there have been a lot of crimes where people were geolocated, but nobody knew they were in distress. So the geolocation alone wasn't really enough to protect them in that situation. We just felt like we needed to take it a level higher in terms of protection.
We're excited to hear all the things. So it is an app. It's on our phone.
Yep.
We download that. So walk us through how it works.
Yeah, and we actually have a video, if we can play that, because that does a really good job of kind of walking you through what the app looks like.
All right, let's check it out.
Lone workers like home nurses and real estate agents face unique challenges. Entering homes alone can be daunting and even dangerous. But with the Force Field Protection app, you're never truly alone. Designed by a former Secret Service agent, this innovative app offers real-time protection and peace of mind. To use Force Field Protection app, you simply push the set button to enter and submit your location, current time, and planned checkout time. That's when the magic begins. When you check in, check out, or push an SOS alert, your chosen contacts will automatically receive a geolocated and time-stamped text message. Additionally, if you miss your checkout time, a message will automatically be sent to your contacts, giving you a touchless distress feature and peace of mind knowing a notification will be sent even if you can't reach your phone. With Force Field Protection, you're safer and more productive, knowing you're always connected and protected. Download the Force Field Protection app today on the Apple and Google Play stores and experience safety in seconds.
Very good. Wow.
Yeah, it reminded me of reading that story again with Beverly Carter situation. The guy stole her phone, and so the idea of hitting, some sort of SOS or anything like that, goes out the window at that moment in time. Having that timer on there, I think is good, is going to save a lot of lives.
Well, thank you.
Potentially.
And that was what, when we talked to Carl, that was the one thing that he said to us was he really felt like things would have been different with his mom if she'd had this app. And so that's, at that point, we both realized our missions really align. And, I will say this too, it's obviously a business expense. This is something for real estate agents, but I use this all the time. I didn't realize how much I would use it. When I go for a run, I use it.
Yeah, I was just sitting here. I'm a single runner.
Yeah.
And so I'm already texting my, sister to tell her, but then this would be an automatic,
Right.
they would know. So that I was thinking even more intensely of how we could use this.
For that as well. And when I get in an Uber, I use it just so he knows Charles is usually my contact. He gets it all.
Luckily.
No, where I am. It's just
when
a
you're
good
traveling
feeling.
too,
Yeah.
right? When you're traveling
Yeah.
and going somewhere, and want to make sure you get back safely. I think it's, I'm definitely going to download it for multiple different reasons. I work in an office. I don't have to go into a specific home, but real estate agents, to know that you have that extra protection, absolutely. I think that is a win, because you're right. We go to these self-defense classes and they learn how to do all the moves, and I feel really confident. And then I'd like to say, take me down, and you take me down with your pinky. I was like, at that point, I don't know, all my moves didn't work, but knowing, that we can maybe utilize a few of those, but you have the extra, the extra protection, I think
exactly.
is important.
And I think it is, and Charles, you can, I think, talk to this maybe even better than I can, but a combination of things, the what you're doing ahead of time and the different things that Carl talks about. And this is one of those things that puts all those pieces together.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, real estate safety in the sense of, where you park, your car, so you don't get boxed in. Leading, let the client leading, through the house and through the room, so you know. So they teach all that. Some of them have personal training, defense, knowing what to do, maybe not to take down the person, but to buy time, doing something so then you can get away. And like Holly said, we just feel like this app is a piece of the puzzle and kind of brings it all together. So yes, it's very important to know, certain techniques to do, for prevention and awareness. I know there's another app called Forewarn, so you learn about the clients you're meeting, if they are who they say they are. But this app, helps you when you're on site and gives you that peace of mind, so you can focus on what you're there to do.
Yeah, I used Forewarn today on a situation. That's a great tool as well. These new tools are making us far more empowered, I believe. Tell me, Charles, having come from the Secret Service spectrum, or whatever you call it, business, or I don't know how you refer to that, except crazy, I think.
Spectrum sounds good.
But so, as an independent observation here, has our world gotten safer since you've been out of that gig, or has it gotten crazier, man?
I would definitely say crazier.
Yeah.
And I think Brink, who y'all have had on here before, and I've worked with, when we're doing any kind of training for real estate agents, schools, churches, the problem is these days I feel like no person or location is off limits.
Right.
That's the problem. It's not, maybe back in the day you could say, stay away from this side of town and you'll be fine.
Right.
You can't say that anymore.
No.
Daytime, nighttime,
School.
private Christian school,
Yeah.
nice neighborhood, bad neighborhood. That's the problem. That's why we need stuff like the Force Field app, and you need certain training, just because you have to be aware at all times, not living in fear, but being aware of your surroundings.
And I get it. That there's a balance in that. The bad guys have gotten bold. That's just a reality. And there's more of them now than there has ever been. And that's just a reality. It just is what it is. So we're not into fear. We're into confidence. But one of the ways that you can get confidence is to have a solution to a potential situation. I think
Right.
that's one of the ways we can.
And this is
certainly gain
this is
confidence.
complement, right? This is just a complement
Right.
to all the other things,
Correct. Right.
When I run, I wear this safety, or somebody got me this particular, knife thing. You just never know what you what you need. We have little sprays that we gave out to real estate agents, just to show our love and have the extra, there. But this is a complement.
Correct.
And some people are very comfortable carrying. I am not. I would fear who I would shoot.
For the rest of the world.
I would fear all people, type of thing. But, so again, it's a compliment, right? Because if you are in a situation and you lose this or lose that, this is the extra piece of security.
Yeah.
Knowing that people are going to be able to be notified very quickly.
Yes. that touchless distress, I think, is, the check-in and the check-out are important too, because I think people like to know that their loved ones or their colleagues or their friends know where they are and when. It's just it's a good feeling, right? You're connected.
Sure.
And so I think those features are important. I think a lot of agents do that already. They'll text somebody and say, hey, I'm at this house, or, this just automates it so it's easier. And so I think those are really important features, but I think that the touchless distress is the one that, like you said, you might not be in a position to be able to spray your mace. You might not even be in a position to pull your gun. You might not be in a position to get to your phone. It just goes out if you're doing nothing. And so that is that extra layer of protection that I love having it. I love using the app. It just feels good. It feels good to have it.
How long
And
have you
Holly-
guys have created the app? How long ago?
The idea started
About
was
3
years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's been on Apple and Google Play for about 6 months.
Okay. Very
So-
good.
And Holly had a recent story when she was at an open house in regard to that peace of mind with another real estate agent.
Yeah. I always ask my agents, does it bother you when people in the neighborhood come and look at your open houses? Because that's what I did.
There you go. You were that person.
Yeah, and
The
they said,
look-de-loo, I think maybe they call it.
Well,
Look-a-loo.
I want to know in case somebody says, is there anything for sale in your neighborhood? So anyway, I went to an open house in our neighborhood, and I was talking to the agent, and she had a couple other people in the house, and then they left, and a gentleman came in. And listen, when you're a woman, sometimes you just have this gift of fear, right? It just happens, and you got to listen to it. And we both did, and we didn't have to say anything to each other. And I could just tell she was like, don't leave. And so I stayed with her, and I thought, that is why we need this. She would have been alone with him, and God forbid something would have happened. And another thing to think about too is when you look at crime incidents, from the time that it starts to the time something actually happens, there's a long period of time there, usually, not always, right? We're not going to save from everything, but what we're trying to do is get in that window and before something actually happens.
Right.
And so that's why, when you have this missed checkout, it's going to catch hopefully in that window, and then somebody comes before you're hurt. But it really resonated with me, and it ended up, I started talking to her about our app, and she was like, you got to get over to our agency and present this. And so we ended up actually presenting at their office not too long ago. But I felt kind of how she might have felt.
Oh, sure.
In that situation.
Yeah. We've all kind of been there in that situation, saying it's time for me to leave or time for me to stay because you want to protect the next person that you're around. So does the app, if my phone does go with an individual, are we tracked too? Okay.
Well, you're tracked in terms of if, let's say, that person takes you somewhere,
right?
Then your missed checkout will come from where they've taken you, so they will know that you've moved.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, will that continue to follow me? Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll know if meaning. I'm in a car that I shouldn't be in, and I'm being taken somewhere. The missed checkout happens to be caught, and that's the GPS code of some sort,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And so it'll let your contacts know your last known location from that missed checkout.
I see.
And so that just helps either law enforcement or whoever it is know where to start. It just gets them ahead of the curve. So that's the idea of the touchless distress.
So what about for those that got a lot on their mind, which we as busy business owners do? What if we don't check out?
So good question. So 5
thought
minutes.
of that.
Yeah.
We're the same way.
5 minutes before your scheduled checkout time, there's an alarm that goes off to notify you. And
Smart, okay.
Twofold. One, so there won't be a lot of false
Right.
checkouts, because then your contacts are gonna be like, well, she's fine. She just didn't check out
Right.
again. So for that, and it also, we think if you need to move on to other places, it kind of helps with efficiency. Saying, Monty, I'm sorry that I have to move on to my next appointment. So there's an alarm 5 minutes before your scheduled checkout. And
I love that.
You can either add more time, you can just say, add another 20 minutes, or check out in 5 minutes.
Very good. That's good. I'm glad you thought of that, because I would be the woman.
Oh, yeah.
My family would
Me
give
too.
up on because
Right.
it would
They'd
go
get a
on.
lot of texts if
Get
you missed
alarm,
checkouts.
type of
We
thing.
understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's also kind of a micro checkout for like open houses. If you're going to be somewhere a long period of time, you might not want to have a 3-hour window. You might want to have, a shorter window. So you can just kind of keep adding time throughout that longer period of time. We call them micro check-ins.
Oh, that's smart too. Right.
You guys have thought about this, haven't you?
Huh?
You have thought about this, haven't you?
So what does it cost? I know, as a business owner, it is a business expense, which I think is a win, for everybody. What is the cost for the app?
It's $2,000 a month. No, I'm just joking.
Oh. Well, there you go.
It's $9.99 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. So, to really have that extra line of protection, we felt that was a good price, and we've got a lot of good feedback on that price.
Yeah. Very
and
nice.
you can do an annual plan too for a little less.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, I think it's a win. I think, focusing on our safety, there's no cost associated with that, right?
Well, when you figure that you can have something like this, tool like this, for around $100 a year, to me, that becomes a real no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to use it for my own,
Yeah.
because you're right. I mean, it's me trying to remember all those things. So
Yeah.
I think it's a win for many people, not just within the real estate community. Like you said, healthcare workers, runners, like you said, there's all kinds of ways that it's a win. You're right.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. And there's a free trial too. So, you can go on there and you don't have to pay for 3 days. You can try it out and hopefully you'll keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charles, tell us again the address where people can connect with us.
Yeah, so you can obviously download it today on Apple or Google Play Store. And then for the best way to get a hold of us is probably the email. So mine is charles.roselle@forcefieldnow.com. And then Holly, the same, holly.roselle@forcefieldnow.com.
Forcefieldnow.com. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for dedicating a portion of such quality lives to the help and welfare of the folks in our industry, and just so grateful in other industries that can use this kind of a tool. I think it can go a lot broader than what you even identified, but especially in today's world. But anyway, thank you again for both of you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
for
us.
being here. And thank you, everyone, for listening. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.